The stars looked different tonight from Luna Station. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck, staring into the endless black of space. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he did not notice. The deep space sensors had picked up something that made his blood run cold. Lieutenant Amy Collins rushed into the command center with her tablet clutched against her chest. Her face was pale and her hands shook slightly as she approached Jake. She had run the calculations 3 times, checked every sensor, and asked 2 other technicians to verify her work. The results were always the same. "Commander Morrison, you need to see this," Amy said, her voice barely above a whisper. She set her tablet on the main console and pointed at the readings. "These signatures appeared 6 hours ago at the edge of our detection range." Jake looked at the display and felt his stomach drop. The energy readings were massive, far beyond anything humanity had ever created. The computer estimated the size of the objects creating these signatures, and the numbers seemed impossible. Each contact was roughly the size of a small moon, and there were hundreds of them. "How many?" Jake asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. 200 confirmed contacts, sir. They are moving toward our solar system at incredible speed. Based on their deceleration pattern, they will reach Earth in 72 hours, Amy replied, her voice getting steadier as she focused on the facts. Jake activated the emergency communication system that connected Luna Station directly to Earth Command. Admiral Ben Carter appeared on the screen within minutes, his gray hair disheveled and his uniform hastily thrown on. The Admiral had been asleep when the priority alert reached him. "What do we have, Morrison?" Admiral Carter asked, rubbing his eyes. "Sir, we have detected a large alien fleet approaching our solar system. 200 vessels, each approximately 15 kilometers in length. They will reach Earth in 3 days," Jake reported, keeping his voice calm and professional. The Admiral's face went completely white. He stared at the screen for several long seconds before speaking again. "Are you certain about these readings?" "Yes, sir. Lieutenant Collins has verified the data multiple times. We are tracking 200 massive alien vessels on direct approach to Earth," Jake confirmed. Admiral Carter closed his eyes and took a deep breath. In his 40 years of military service, he had prepared for many scenarios, but an alien invasion of this scale had never seemed possible. Humanity had been searching for alien life for centuries, and now it appeared that alien life had found them first. "Send all data to Earth Command immediately. I am calling an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. We have 72 hours to prepare for the worst-case scenario," Admiral Carter said before ending the transmission. On Earth, the Emergency Council gathered in the underground bunker beneath Geneva. Representatives from every major nation sat around the large circular table, their faces grim as they reviewed the data from Luna Station. General Lisa Martinez, head of the United Defense Force, stood at the front of the room with a holographic display showing Earth's current military assets. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face an impossible situation," General Martinez began. "Our enemy possesses 200 vessels, each larger than our biggest cities. Our total space-capable military force consists of 43 patrol ships, 12 cruisers, and 1 experimental battleship." President William Hayes of North America leaned forward in his chair. "What are our options, General?" "Honestly, sir, we have very few options. Our weapons are designed for combat against human opponents. We have no idea if they will even damage alien technology. Our ships are vastly outnumbered and likely outgunned," General Martinez replied. Prime Minister Margaret Stone of the European Federation spoke up. "What about evacuation? Can we move our population to safe locations?" "Where would we go? If they can travel between stars, they can probably track us anywhere in the solar system. Besides, we could never evacuate 8 billion people in 72 hours, General Martinez answered. Dr. Kevin Zhang, director of the Quantum Research Division, had been sitting quietly in the corner of the room. He cleared his throat and stood up, drawing everyone's attention. Kevin was young for his position, barely 35 years old, but he was considered the brightest physicist of his generation. "There might be another option," Kevin said, his voice uncertain. "My team has been working on a theoretical weapon based on dark matter manipulation. We call it the Void Engine." Admiral Carter, who had arrived from Luna Station via emergency transport, looked skeptical. "Doctor, now is not the time for untested theories." "Sir, with respect, untested theories might be all we have. The Void Engine works by manipulating dark matter to create localized space-time distortions. In simple terms, it could theoretically erase matter from existence, Kevin explained. The room fell silent as everyone processed what Kevin had just said. The concept of erasing matter from existence sounded like science fiction, but they were facing an alien invasion that also seemed like science fiction. "Has this weapon been tested?" asked General Martinez. "We have successfully tested it on small asteroids. The largest target we have tested was about 50 meters across. It simply ceased to exist," Kevin replied. "Could it work against alien ships?" President Hayes asked. "Theoretically, yes. But we would need to build a much larger version, and we have never tested it against artificial objects or anything with defensive systems," Kevin admitted. Admiral Carter studied the young scientist carefully. "How long would it take to build a weapon-scale version?" "If we strip every available resource from the Quantum Research Division and work around the clock, we might have something ready in 60 hours. But I must stress that this is completely untested technology. It could work perfectly, or it could destroy everything within 1,000 kilometers of Earth," Kevin said. The room erupted in worried conversations as the leaders discussed the options. They could surrender and hope the aliens would be merciful. They could fight with conventional weapons and face certain defeat. Or they could gamble everything on an untested weapon that might save them, or might destroy them. General Martinez called for order, and the room became quiet again. "We need to make a decision. Do we authorize Dr. Zhang to build his void engine?" President Hayes looked around the table at his fellow world leaders. The weight of humanity's future rested on their shoulders. After several minutes of tense discussion, they reached a unanimous decision. "Dr. Zhang, you have full authorization and unlimited resources. Build your weapon. Meanwhile, we will prepare our conventional forces for battle. If your void engine fails, we will at least die fighting," Admiral Carter declared. As the council members dispersed to coordinate humanity's desperate preparations, none of them knew that high above Earth, the alien fleet had already detected their planet and was preparing for what they expected to be an easy conquest. King Vorthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching the primitive solar system grow larger on his displays. His crystalline form reflected the blue light from the tactical screens as he studied the third planet from the star. Earth looked so small and defenseless from this distance, just another world to add to his empire. The Zephyrian ruler had conquered 17 star systems without losing a single vessel from his royal fleet. His 200 dreadnoughts had never faced defeat in 3,000 years of galactic conquest. Each ship stretched 15 kilometers from bow to stern and carried enough firepower to crack a planet's surface. Their shields had withstood the fury of supernovas and the weapons of countless alien races. "My lord, we are detecting movement around the third planet," reported Commander Zeltak, his second in command. "The local species appears to have some form of spacefaring capability." King Vorthak looked at the tactical display with mild interest. Dozens of tiny contacts moved around Earth and its moon, but they were pathetically small compared to his dreadnoughts. The largest human vessel was barely 2 kilometers long, smaller than one of his fighter squadrons. "How many ships do they have?" King Vorthak asked, more out of curiosity than concern. "Approximately 50 vessels, my lord. Their technology appears primitive. Chemical propulsion systems and basic energy weapons," Commander Zeltak replied. King Vorthak almost laughed. 50 tiny ships against his royal fleet. This would be over before it truly began. Still, he appreciated courage even in species marked for extinction. He activated the communication system and broadcast a message toward Earth in their primitive language. "Surrender your world, and your deaths will be swift. Resist, and your species will suffer before extinction." Captain Ryan Brooks received the alien message aboard the UES Defiance, humanity's most advanced battleship. The vessel had been completed only 6 months earlier and represented the pinnacle of human military technology. Even so, Ryan knew his ship was hopelessly outmatched against the approaching alien armada. "Sir, all human vessels are reporting ready for combat," announced Lieutenant Commander Sally Green from the communication station. "Admiral Carter is coordinating from Luna Station." Ryan looked at his tactical display showing the positions of humanity's entire space fleet. Captain Helen Price commanded the destroyer Courage with her crew of 200 brave souls. Captain Steve Adams led the cruiser Guardian, while Captain Tony Rivera had volunteered to take his frigate Ranger on what everyone knew was likely a suicide mission. The alien fleet passed Neptune's orbit and continued their steady approach toward Earth. Their formation was perfect, with the massive dreadnoughts arranged in a precise geometric pattern that spoke of centuries of military discipline. No human force had ever faced anything remotely like this scale of enemy. "Captain Brooks, this is Admiral Carter," came the voice from Luna Station. "You are authorized to engage the enemy at your discretion. All ships are to focus on gathering intelligence about alien capabilities while inflicting maximum damage possible." Ryan took a deep breath and opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Brooks. We all know the odds we face today. We are vastly outnumbered and outgunned, but we are fighting for our families, our children, and our planet. Let them see what humans can do when we have no choice but to fight." The first engagement began near Mars as the human fleet intercepted the alien advance. Captain Price led her destroyer in a high-speed approach toward the nearest Zephyrian dreadnought, her crew firing everything they had at the massive alien vessel. Nuclear missiles and plasma cannon fire struck the alien shields, creating brilliant flashes of light that briefly illuminated the darkness of space. The alien response was swift and devastating. Beams of pure energy lanced out from the dreadnoughts, each shot carrying more power than a human city used in a year. The destroyer Valiant simply vanished in a ball of superheated plasma, taking its crew of 150 with it. 2 more human ships died within the first minute of combat, but humanity had one advantage that King Vorthak had not anticipated. They were fighting for their home, and desperation made them unpredictable. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, the human ships scattered like a swarm of angry insects, using the asteroid belt and the planets themselves as cover. Captain Tony Rivera proved especially skilled at this type of warfare. His frigate Ranger darted between the massive alien ships, too small and fast for their heavy weapons to track effectively. He led his ship through the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter, using the space rocks to mask his approach toward one of the smaller alien vessels. The Ranger's nuclear missiles found their target, detonating against the alien shields in a series of brilliant explosions. The damage was minimal, barely registering on the alien ship's sensors, but the attack revealed something crucial. During the brief moment when the alien ship fired its weapons, there was a microscopic gap in its shield coverage. "All ships, this is Ranger," Tony broadcast across the human fleet. "The alien shields have a vulnerability window during weapons discharge. We need to coordinate our attacks for the exact moment they fire." This information spread quickly through the human fleet, giving them their first real tactical advantage. The human captains began working together, with some ships drawing alien fire while others positioned themselves to exploit the brief shield gaps. It was dangerous work that required perfect timing and nerves of steel. King Vorthak watched the battle displays with growing irritation. These primitive humans were proving more troublesome than expected. Their ships were like gnats buzzing around his magnificent dreadnoughts, too small to cause serious damage but persistent enough to be annoying. Several of his vessels had reported minor hull damage from human weapons. "Increase firepower concentration," King Vorthak ordered. "I want these insects crushed quickly." The alien fleet responded by focusing multiple ships on each human target. The destroyer Courage took hits from 3 dreadnoughts simultaneously and broke apart in a ball of fire. But not before Captain Price managed to send crucial sensor data back to the rest of the fleet. Dr. Kevin Zhang worked frantically on Luna Station, trying to complete the Void engine while the battle raged around Earth. His team had been working for 60 straight hours, installing the massive dark matter manipulators that would hopefully give humanity a fighting chance. Engineer Carol Murphy monitored the power systems, knowing that one mistake could destroy the entire lunar base. "Doctor, we are getting reports from the fleet," called technician Mark Johnson. "They have discovered that the alien shields have brief vulnerability windows." Kevin looked up from his calculations with tired eyes. This new information might be crucial for targeting the Void engine effectively. If the alien shields could be breached, even for microseconds, his weapon might have a chance to work. The battle continued around Mars as more human ships fell to the overwhelming alien firepower. But each loss taught the survivors more about their enemy, and the human fleet began to adapt their tactics accordingly. They were still vastly outmatched, but they were no longer completely helpless against the alien invasion force. King Vorthak's patience had reached its limit. The human gnats had been buzzing around his fleet for 12 hours, and while they had only managed to destroy 3 of his dreadnoughts, They were taking far longer to crush than any species he had ever encountered. His tactical officers reported that 17 human vessels remained active, down from the original 55 ships. The Zephyrian king studied the tactical display showing Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. Soon that beautiful world would be nothing but floating debris. He activated his fleet communication system and spoke to all 200 of his remaining ships. "Attention, Royal Fleet. These primitive insects have wasted enough of our time. Form planet-cracking formation around the third world. We will demonstrate to the galaxy what happens to species that dare resist the Zephyrian Empire." King Vorthak commanded. The massive alien dreadnoughts began moving into a complex geometric pattern around Earth. Each ship took its assigned position in a formation that had been used to destroy countless worlds across the galaxy. When the formation was complete, the combined firepower of the entire fleet would focus on Earth's core, cracking the planet like an egg. Captain Ryan Brooks watched the alien movement from the bridge of the UES Defiance. His ship had taken heavy damage during the running battle around Mars, and half his crew was dead or injured. The remaining human fleet was scattered across the inner solar system, most ships barely functional after hours of combat against impossible odds. "Captain, the aliens are surrounding Earth," reported Lieutenant Commander Sally Green. "Intelligence estimates they will be in final position within 6 hours." Ryan knew what that meant. Once the alien formation was complete, Earth would die. The human fleet had fought bravely, but they had failed to stop the invasion. Unless Dr. Zhang's experimental weapon worked, humanity was about to become extinct. "All remaining ships, this is Captain Brooks," Ryan broadcast to the scattered human fleet. "We have learned much about our enemy today. Their shields can be breached during weapons discharge. Their ships are powerful but not invincible. We have one chance left to save our world." Captain Helen Price responded from her damaged destroyer Courage. Her ship had lost main engines and was running on emergency power, but her crew refused to give up. "What do you have in mind, Ryan?" "The aliens are focusing all their attention on Earth. If we can coordinate one final attack on their flagship, we might be able to disrupt their formation long enough for Dr. Zhang to complete his weapon," Ryan explained. It was a desperate plan. The surviving human ships would have to attack the most heavily defended vessel in the alien fleet, knowing they would likely all die in the attempt. But if they could buy Dr. Zhang a few more hours, maybe humanity still had a chance. Captain Steve Adams joined the conversation from his cruiser Guardian. "My ship can still fight. Count us in." One by one, the remaining human captains volunteered for what everyone knew was a suicide mission. Captain Tony Rivera in the frigate Ranger, Captain Beth Wilson in the patrol ship Defender, and 12 other brave souls committed their ships to humanity's final gamble. On Luna Station, Dr. Kevin Zhang worked with desperate urgency on the Void engine. His dark matter manipulators were finally calibrated, but the power requirements were enormous. Engineer Carol Murphy had calculated that firing the weapon would drain Earth's entire electrical grid, leaving the planet defenseless if the weapon failed. "Doctor, we have a problem," announced Lieutenant Peter Johnson from the engineering section. "The weapon's range is limited to approximately 50,000 kilometers. The alien flagship is currently 300,000 kilometers from Earth." Kevin stared at the tactical display in dismay. His weapon was nearly complete, but it could not reach the alien fleet from Luna Station. They needed the aliens to come closer, or they needed to boost the weapon's range somehow. "What about using Earth's magnetic field as an amplifier?" suggested Carol Murphy. "If we can synchronize the dark matter pulse with the planet's natural electromagnetic field, we might be able to extend the range significantly." Kevin considered the idea carefully. It was theoretically possible but extremely dangerous. Using Earth's magnetic field as an amplifier could disrupt the planet's natural defenses against solar radiation. If the weapon failed, Earth might become uninhabitable anyway. "How much time do we need for the modifications?" Kevin asked. 6 hours minimum," Carol replied. Kevin looked at the countdown timer showing when the alien formation would be complete. They had exactly 6 hours and 20 minutes before Earth died. It would be very close, but it might work. Meanwhile, the human fleet prepared for their final attack. Captain Brooks led the 15 surviving ships toward the alien flagship, using the debris from destroyed human vessels as cover. The Eternal Dominion was positioned at the center of the alien formation, its massive bulk protected by dozens of escort vessels. King Vorthak noticed the approaching human ships with mild amusement. These primitives simply did not know when to accept defeat. His flagship alone carried more firepower than their entire fleet, and it was protected by the most advanced shields in the galaxy. "Sir, shall we destroy them?" asked Commander Zelthak. "Let them come. When they see the futility of their attack, perhaps they will finally understand the hopelessness of their situation," King Vorthak replied. The human attack began as Captain Brooks led his ships in a coordinated assault on the alien flagship. The UES Defiance fired every weapon it had while the other human vessels darted around the massive dreadnought like angry wasps. Nuclear missiles exploded against alien shields while plasma cannons carved brief gouges in the alien hull. But this attack was different from the earlier skirmishes. The human captains had learned to exploit the brief shield vulnerabilities, and they coordinated their timing perfectly. When Captain Price's destroyer sacrificed itself in a kamikaze run against the flagship's shield generators, it created an opening that the other ships immediately exploited. For the first time in 3,000 years, a Zephyrian Royal Fleet vessel took serious damage. The Eternal Dominion's primary shield array flickered and failed for several crucial seconds, allowing human weapons to strike the alien hull directly. The damage was still minimal, but it was enough to prove that the aliens were not invincible. King Vorthak stared at his damage reports in shock. His flagship had been hurt by these primitive insects. The emotion he felt was completely unfamiliar to him after millennia of easy conquest. For the first time in his long life, King Vorthak felt something that might have been fear. On Luna Station, Dr. Zhang watched the battle while his team completed the final modifications to the Void engine. The human fleet was dying to buy him time, and he would not waste their sacrifice. In 4 more hours, humanity would either be saved or destroyed by his untested weapon. King Vorthak positioned his flagship at the exact center of the planet-cracking formation, his crystalline face reflecting the cold fury that burned within him. The damage to his ship had been repaired, but the humiliation remained. No primitive species had ever wounded a vessel of the Royal Fleet before, and these humans would pay dearly for their insolence. The Eternal Dominion's tactical display showed the perfect, geometric arrangement of 200 dreadnoughts surrounding Earth. Each ship had locked its primary weapons onto specific coordinates on the planet's surface. When fired simultaneously, their combined power would shatter Earth's core and reduce the world to cosmic dust within minutes. "All ships report ready for planet-cracking sequence," announced Commander Zelthak from his station. "Weapons charging will begin on your command, my lord." King Vorthak looked at the blue world hanging helplessly in space before him. Soon it would be nothing but debris, and the galaxy would remember what happened to species that dared resist the Zephyrian Empire. He raised his crystalline hand to give the final command. "Begin weapons charging sequence. Let the universe witness the price of defying King Vorthak," he declared. Across the alien fleet, massive energy collectors began drawing power from each ship's core reactors. The planet-cracking array required enormous amounts of energy, more than any single vessel could provide. But with 200 dreadnoughts working together, they could generate enough power to destroy an entire solar system. On Luna Station, Dr. Kevin Zhang monitored the alien activity through long-range sensors, while his team made final preparations for the Void engine. The weapon's dark matter manipulators hummed with barely contained energy, and the power cables connecting to Earth's electrical grid glowed white-hot from the massive energy transfer. "Doctor, the aliens have begun their weapons charging sequence," reported Engineer Carol Murphy. "Our sensors estimate they will reach full power in 8 minutes. Kevin looked at his own weapon status display with growing anxiety. The modifications to use Earth's magnetic field as an amplifier were complete, but the Void engine itself needed 90 more seconds to reach full charge. They were cutting it dangerously close. "How long until we can fire?" Kevin asked Technician Mark Johnson, who was monitoring the weapon's power systems. 7 minutes and 30 seconds for full charge, sir, but we might be able to fire at 80% power in 6 minutes, Mark replied. Kevin made rapid calculations in his head. 80% power might not be enough to destroy the entire alien fleet, but it was better than letting Earth die. He would have to make the choice in the next few minutes. The surviving human fleet made their final desperate assault on the alien formation. Captain Ryan Brooks led his battered ship UES Defiance alongside the 8 remaining human vessels, in a suicidal charge toward King Vorthak's flagship. They knew their attack could not stop the planet-cracking array, but they hoped to distract the aliens for the crucial minutes Dr. Zhang needed. Captain Steve Adams pushed his cruiser Guardian to maximum speed, despite the damage it had sustained in earlier battles. His ship's hull was cracked in 3 places and his weapons systems were running on emergency power, but his crew refused to give up while Earth still had a chance. All ships, concentrate fire on the flagship's weapon systems, Captain Brooks commanded over the communication channel. If we can disrupt their firing sequence even for a few seconds, it might give Dr. Zhang the time he needs. The human ships opened fire with everything they had left. Nuclear missiles and plasma cannons struck the alien flagship while the smaller vessels used their remaining fuel for kamikaze runs against the massive dreadnought's shield generators. Captain Tony Rivera's frigate Ranger made a direct hit on one of the shield projectors before being vaporized by alien return fire. King Vorthak barely noticed the pathetic human attack. His attention was focused on the weapon charging sequence that would soon erase Earth from existence. The tactical display showed the energy levels climbing steadily toward the critical threshold needed for planet cracking. Weapons charging at 60%, reported the tactical officer. 5 minutes to full charge. The alien king watched with satisfaction as more human ships died uselessly against his flagship's defenses. These insects had fought bravely, he admitted. But bravery meant nothing against the overwhelming power of the royal fleet. In 5 minutes, their world would cease to exist. On Earth, power grids across the planet began shutting down as every available source of electricity was diverted to Luna Station. Cities went dark from New York to Tokyo as the Void engine drew more power than human civilization had ever generated before. People looked up at the night sky, knowing that their fate was being decided in the darkness above. Dr. Zhang watched the power readings climb, while sweat dripped down his face despite the cool temperature on Luna Station. The dark matter manipulators were operating beyond their designed limits, and he could hear warning alarms throughout the facility as systems strained under the enormous energy load. "Doctor, we are detecting massive gravitational distortions around the weapon," warned Carol Murphy. "The dark matter field is becoming unstable." Kevin looked at the readings with growing concern. The Void engine was drawing so much power that it was beginning to warp space-time around Luna Station. If the containment field failed, the weapon could tear apart the moon itself. "Can we maintain containment?" Kevin asked. "Unknown, sir. We are operating in completely theoretical territory now," Carol replied. The weapon charging sequence continued while the battle raged around Earth. Captain Brooks's ship took a direct hit from alien weapons and began breaking apart, but he managed to keep his ship fighting for 30 more seconds before the UES Defiance exploded in a ball of plasma. King. Vorthak's weapon array reached 90% charge as the last human ships died around his flagship. The planet-cracking sequence was almost complete, and soon these troublesome humans would be nothing but a memory. He prepared to give the final firing command that would destroy Earth. Dr. Zhang watched his displays as the Void engine reached 85% charge. The alien weapons would fire in 90 seconds, but his weapon needed 60 more seconds to reach full power. The fate of humanity would be decided by a margin of 30 seconds. "Sir, we can fire now at current power levels," announced Mark Johnson. "It might not destroy the entire fleet, but it will definitely damage them." Kevin stared at the countdown timer showing when the aliens would fire their planet-cracking array. 30 seconds was not much time, but it might be enough. He reached for the firing control and prepared to bet humanity's future on an untested weapon powered by the hopes and dreams of 8 billion people. Dr. Kevin Zhang's hand hovered over the firing control for the Void engine as alarms blared throughout Luna Station. The weapon had reached 90% charge, but the alien fleet was only seconds away from firing their planet-cracking array. Around him, his team worked frantically to maintain the dark matter containment field that was warping space itself with its incredible energy. "Doctor, the gravitational distortions are increasing beyond safe levels," warned engineer Carol Murphy as her console sparked from an electrical overload. "If we wait much longer, the weapon might tear Luna. Station apart before we can fire it." Kevin looked at the tactical display showing King Vorthak's fleet in perfect formation around Earth. The alien weapons were at 98% charge and climbing rapidly. In 15 seconds, 200 dreadnoughts would fire simultaneously and reduce Earth to cosmic debris. "All stations report ready for firing sequence." announced technician Mark Johnson. Dark matter field is contained and stable for the next 30 seconds. Kevin took a deep breath and thought about the 8 billion people depending on his decision. The Void Engine was humanity's only hope, an untested weapon built on theoretical physics and desperate determination. If it failed, Earth would die. If it worked beyond his calculations, it might destroy everything in the solar system. Initiating firing sequence now, Kevin declared as he pressed the activation control. The Void Engine erupted with power that defied human understanding. Dark matter, the mysterious substance that made up most of the universe, responded to humanity's quantum manipulation in ways that even Kevin's advanced theories had barely predicted. The weapon drew energy from Earth's magnetic field, creating a pulse of invisible force that raced across space at the speed of light. King Vorthak watched his tactical display as the planet-cracking array reached 100% charge. The moment he had been waiting for had finally arrived. Earth would be destroyed, and these troublesome humans would become another footnote in the history of his empire's conquests. All ships report weapons fully charged and ready to fire, announced Commander Zelthak with satisfaction. The planet-cracking array is at maximum power. King Vorthak raised his crystalline hand to give the final command that would end human civilization forever. But in that instant, his instruments detected an impossible energy signature coming from the direction of Earth's moon. The readings were unlike anything in Zephyrian science, showing massive dark matter disturbances that should not have been possible. "What is that energy reading?" King Vorthak demanded, pointing at the anomalous display. Commander Zelthak studied his instruments with confusion. "Unknown, my lord. We are detecting massive dark matter fluctuations, but these primitive humans should not possess such technology." The Void Engine's pulse struck the Zephyrian fleet like the concentrated wrath of an angry universe. The dark matter wave passed through normal space without affecting asteroids or planets. But when it encountered the artificial matter of the alien ships, it created a cascade effect that unraveled the very bonds holding their atoms together. King Vorthak had one moment of absolute terror as his flagship's shields simply ceased to exist. The dark matter pulse passed through the Eternal Dominion like it was made of paper, and everywhere the wave touched, matter stopped being matter. The hull plates, the weapon systems, the crew quarters, all of it began to fade from existence as if it had never been real. "Impossible," King Vorthak whispered, as he watched his hands become transparent. The Void Engine's effect was spreading through his ship faster than his mind could process. Around him, his crew members were vanishing one by one as the dark matter cascade erased them from reality. The effect spread through the entire royal fleet in less than 3 seconds. 200 dreadnoughts, each a masterpiece of Zephyrian engineering that had taken decades to construct, were unmade by humanity's desperate weapon. The ships did not explode or break apart. They simply stopped existing, leaving empty space where moments before, an overwhelming alien armada had prepared to destroy Earth. Captain Ryan Brooks had died when his ship exploded during the final attack on the alien flagship, but Lieutenant Commander Sally Green had survived in an escape pod. She watched in stunned amazement as the entire alien fleet vanished from her tactical display in an instant. The space around Earth, which had been filled with massive enemy vessels, was suddenly empty except for the natural objects that belonged in the solar system. On Luna Station, Dr. Kevin Zhang stared at his instruments in complete disbelief. The Void Engine had worked far beyond his most optimistic projections. The weapon had not only destroyed the alien fleet, but had somehow created a quantum cascade effect that erased every trace of their existence from local space-time. "Doctor, are you seeing this?" asked Carol Murphy as she looked at the sensor readings. "The entire alien fleet is gone. Not destroyed, gone. There is no debris, no energy signatures, nothing at all where they used to be." Kevin checked and rechecked his instruments, but the readings were clear. The dark matter pulse had somehow unraveled the quantum structure of the alien ships, erasing them from existence so completely that even their gravitational effects had disappeared. It was as if the royal fleet had never existed at all. Across Earth, people looked up at the night sky as power grids came back online, and cities began to glow with light once again. They did not know exactly what had happened, but the fact that they were still alive meant that somehow, impossibly, humanity had survived. In the depths of space, the scattered survivors of Earth's defense fleet tried to understand what they had witnessed. Captain Steve Adams, floating in an escape pod from his destroyed cruiser, watched the empty space where the alien armada had been, and wondered if he was hallucinating from oxygen deprivation. King Vorthak and his royal fleet were gone, not just destroyed but completely erased from reality. The dark matter pulse had unmade them so thoroughly that the universe itself seemed to have forgotten they ever existed. Across the galaxy, the Zephyrian Empire waited for word from their king, unaware that their supposedly invincible ruler and his pride fleet had been removed from existence by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Animals. Dr. Kevin Zhang sat back in his chair and looked at Earth hanging peacefully in space. Humanity had faced extinction and somehow found a way to not just survive, but to make their enemies cease to exist entirely. The species that had been considered barely above animals had just announced their presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Earth was safe, and the universe would never underestimate humanity again.